Tennessee versus Arkansas. This is a really interesting game for several reasons, right? Tennessee's coming off a bye, and most Tennessee fans feel like they are one of the elite teams in college football this year. You went on the road, got a big win against the Oklahoma Sooners in Norman. You shut down their offense. You were lights out on defense. And now you come off a bye week going into hostile territory that is playing in Fayetteville, Arkansas. You know, those Arkansas Razorback fans, they're really passionate about this team. I still wake up every day in disbelief that there's a lot of people in the state of Arkansas that just love to watch Razorbacks football, because this home crowd, they show up and they're really loud and they're really noisy. And Tennessee's a 13.5-point favorite going into this game according to Vegas. If Tennessee is the elite team that most people believe them to be, they need to come into this game and need to absolutely obliterate Arkansas. And I believe that this game has a large chance of being a blowout. However, one thing about Arkansas is that this team is a lot better than what I expected and what many of the experts expected coming into this year. Most of us thought that this was going to be arguably the worst team in the SEC along with Vanderbilt and Florida, but they've been pretty fun to watch. This is a pretty solid squad. You know, you got a really fun quarterback in Taylor Green, great arm, insane athlete. You got some nice receivers. You got a really good group of running backs. But the main problem with Arkansas is that they always find a way to kick themselves in the foot. They have like 2 turnovers a game. They're one of the worst teams in all of college football in taking care of the ball. And when you're going up against a team like Tennessee, you can't afford to have any mistakes. If anything, you got to be a team that can force mistakes from Tennessee, and you have to take advantage of them. Because one thing about Arkansas is that as fun as what their offense is to watch, you know, their fatal flaw is that they just can't get out of their own way. You know, like with the turnovers and penalties that you have, your offensive line is really inconsistent. You're going to have to play your best game, all right? Not just offensively, but defensively as well. Because one thing about Tennessee that everybody knows is that this is one of the scariest offenses in college football. They can beat you on the ground. They can murder you through the air with Nico Imaviava. I love this dude, and I probably will never get his name right because I just can't pronunciate it, but I'm a big fan of Nico. He's like Trevor Lawrence, but way more athletic and has a way more dynamic arm. He has a star-studded group of wide receivers. Tennessee has one of the deepest wide receiving cores in all of college football. And you're going up against an Arkansas secondary that has struggled this year to stop the pass. And their pass rush, outside of Landon Jackson, is much to be desired. And Tennessee defensively, going up against a really potent Arkansas offense, you know, this is going to be a big test for them. We know how good Oklahoma's offense was supposed to be, but Arkansas's offense, you can make the argument that they're better than what you saw in Norman. But you're third in America in points per game allowed. You're only allowing 8 points per game. That's insanity. You're number 1 in yards per game allowed. You're second against the run. You're third against the pass. And you're 16th in FBS and forced turnovers. You got a lot of depth and talent on that defensive line. James Pierce Jr. is going to be in the conversation to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. Arkansas has to play their A game. But what Arkansas does have in their back pocket is that home field advantage. And if you know anything about playing in the SEC, you know how hard it is to win these games on the road. No matter how big of a talent gap there is, you can never underestimate any opponent when you got to go into enemy territory. We saw LSU almost lose to South Carolina. We saw Kentucky damn near beat Georgia. We saw Georgia get flustered in the first half against Alabama on the road in Tuscaloosa. Playing on the road in the SEC is a really difficult task. And this could very well be a trap game for Tennessee. However, I love the Vols to win, and I like them to cover that minus 13.5. I'm taking Tennessee to beat Arkansas. 38-17 is my final score prediction. I believe that the firepower that Tennessee has offensively is going to be way too much for that Arkansas secondary that has struggled this year. And unless Arkansas can play mistake-free football, which is something that they've been unable to do this year, I really can't see them pulling off this upset. Unless, Taylor Green has the game of his life, the offensive line is able to hold up front against that Tennessee front seven, and that home field advantage is just such a big factor that it rattles Nico. But that's the only way I can see Arkansas making this a close game. I'll be really shocked if Tennessee doesn't annihilate the Razorbacks.